I am honored to introduce here in the studio our friend Peter Watts. Wattsy, good morning to you. It's great to have you with us.
Good morning, Scaffy. Good morning, Lawson. It's lovely to be here. I'm just thinking I want one of those fitness washes.
I know. Yeah. Isn't that a great one? Peter, this is the thing. Word in the street has it that you're preparing to go on another evangelistic campaign. Is this true? Is this fact or fiction?
Well, I've got to confirm it is absolutely true. We're going to be planning and, we are planning. We're running next Tuesday a series called Is God for Real? And Does It Really Matter? We're going to be doing that at 6:30 p.m. next Tuesday.
That is exciting.
I'm having some nostalgia here. When I first came to Australia, Peter and I, we worked together. Peter was the preacher of a series we called Rethink.
Mm-hmm. Rethink. We were all in the same tent, you guys.
Yeah,
all three of us were in the same tent.
And that's where I became a follower of Jesus. And so I got to say, when Peter gets up to preach, good things happen. Praise the Lord.
Yes,
so
very true.
Man, I think that, so where are you running these evangelistic meetings?
So it's at Keilor, which is near Melbourne Airport. So if we have listeners who are in that area, it's going to be at Keilor. We're graciously being able to use the St. Stephen Uniting Church for this event. And it's going to be on the corner of Church and Flora Streets at Keilor, 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday evening. We'll have light refreshments there. We'll have some resources there. And we're going to be talking about some of the subjects that people have questions about. I know for myself, I was an atheist who became a Christian. And I had plenty of questions when that journey began. And so the idea of is God for real and does it really matter? We want to explore that topic, and what is the importance of living in a universe where God exists as opposed to one where he doesn't exist? Well, how does that affect the way I live? And what does it say about where we came from and where we're going and all of those kind of things? So we're going to be exploring the first couple of topics, in fact, are probably two of the most common questions. Did we really evolve, and why so much suffering? People ask those questions, and if we think about who is this program for, it's for people who may, be exploring faith, be exploring the idea. Well, is there a God, and is there any evidence for God? And or those who may even be believers, but they have friends who have questions, and they want to be able to share that with them. And so, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things.
Very good. So, Peter, you've run this series before. Is God for real? Right? Have you ever? How was it? Like your experience with it? Do you think that were there people interested in it? Do you think that there's some people that connected some dots regarding life and God and
without a doubt?
God?
Yeah.
Can you give us maybe without necessarily sharing names if you can't, but can you give us some
sure.
examples of what did people get out of a series that they actually shared with you previously?
So I've had people come to this series. So I've spoken at high schools, I've spoken at universities, I've spoken at community centres and hotels and different places with regard to this series. And you always get a mixed group of people, right? I've spoken to people who are atheists, and I was an atheist growing up, and I've spoken to them, and they have all sorts of questions because there are all sorts of misconceptions, I guess, about the picture of God. It's one thing to say, whether you believe in God or is God for real, but what kind of God? We want to explore that as well. And so we have people come along, and they're really blessed. What happens is that by the end of the series, they're very keen to say, well, what else does the Bible say? What does the Bible reveal about God? And what does it reveal about who he is, who we are, what our relationship is, and how that impacts our lives, and how it's a positive benefit. The motivation for doing this, Scaffy, is that I have met so many people who have been blessed by these presentations, not because the presentations are so great, but because the information coming from the Bible about who God is, about who Jesus is so helpful to people. It helps to transform their lives. And my life has changed in immeasurable ways since I began walking with Jesus.
Amen. That's amazing. So how long will this series be going for? Is it a couple of presentations? Or is this a longer series?
Yeah. So this series particularly is going to be an 8-part series. We're going to be meeting each Tuesday and Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. And we're going to be, like I said, at the corner of Church and Flora Streets in Keilor, Victoria. That's out near the airport. And we would love people to come along, bring a friend. So each Tuesday and Wednesday for the next 4 weeks at 6:30 p.m., that's where we're going to be.
Okay, 6:30 p.m. And starting when? When are you starting?
Tuesday, the 30th of September. So what is it? Today, I think we're Thursday, aren't we?
Yes.
So this coming Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., we will begin. It'll be an 8-part series every Tuesday and Wednesday evening, 6:30, and it'll be at the St. Stephen Uniting Church, corner of Church and Flora Streets, Keilor, Victoria. We would love to see people there.
Fantastic. Now, Peter, I actually wanted to ask another thing because you do have your own radio program here on Faith FM, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
What's the name? What is it called? And what are you talking it?
So for the last 4 years actually, because it actually began in Tasmania. I was actually in the studio where you are right now for a while. With Danny Melenkov and the program Looking Up. But right now I do a program called A Light in the Dark. It's 11 a.m. on a Thursday morning live. I do that show with John Weeks in the office here in Victoria, in the studio. And we talk about all sorts of things. We've just completed a series on creation and evolution and topics that are related to that. But we've covered all sorts of things in that radio show, and I really enjoy doing radio and getting the interaction from people who text in. So 11 a.m. Thursday mornings, A Light in the Dark. We'd love to have the listeners tune in.
Peter, thanks so much. Can I ask you some questions here to explore since
you can
we have here
many.
with us? For example, do you think that you've been studying about God's word and that sort of ideas of creation versus evolution for a while now, for many years, for at least a decade, if probably not more, 2 decades.
30 years.
30 years. Have you seen any change in the general attitude of people like 30 years ago or 20 years ago compared to now when it comes to that conversation of evolution? Do you think that people are more open to challenge and to question evolution, or do you think that people are actually more dogmatic about it? What's been your experience with that?
I think it can be polarizing, but it doesn't have to be. And I think that, I was a fairly hardcore evolutionist. I went to state school. I believe thoroughly in evolution, and I didn't think God was necessary for all the living things to be here. I guess it will depend on the individual. I think probably more people are open today because there are so many more resources available for people to explore the idea that God created. And, when I talk about, did we really evolve? There are some things I obviously don't believe about evolution anymore, but there are some things I do believe about evolution. So, for instance, there is microevolution, something we might describe as adaptation. If you're describing evolution as a definition of evolution would be change over time. Well, we all change over time, right? So that's not molecules to man evolution. I think what I would say is we do see adaptation within the natural world. That's microevolution. But we don't see one kind of creature turning into another kind of creature, and that's called macroevolution. And I think that there's an innate desire inside of us to want to know, where did we come from? Who are we as human beings? And I think that even with all of the material that is given to us on evolution by the state school system or popular television or whatever it may be, I still think people have that question inside of, is there a God? Does he care about me? What's my relation? I think we get a sense too that we're more than animals. I mean, from the evolutionary point of view, we're simply highly developed animals. And I think most human beings, they sense that, no, there's something more to us than that. We're a different kind of being to that. And
another question is, for example, if we take that, the idea that, look, there's no God, everything just came about, by random chance and so on. If we follow the logical conclusions of that, what kind of philosophy would we actually, what kind of problems would we actually have?
Sure.
What kind of a worldview would we have? Because look, a lot of times people, they live by a Christian morality, for example, or Christian values, even though they say they don't believe.
Right.
But if we were to take evolution and the no existence of God really seriously, what kind of lifestyle would that, or conclusions about the world would that lead us to, in your opinion?
Well, much of the order and the morality that we experience in our country, you would fail to have a basis for that. So in other words, I'll be driving to the studio today. I'm going to be driving on the left-hand side of the road and obeying the traffic laws because I know that they make it safer for me and they make it safer for everybody else. But from a moral perspective, why should we obey anybody's laws? I mean, if I'm a free agent, if it's the law of the jungle, then why should I obey laws on morality? Why should I not just take what I want and survival of the fittest? And these principles have been played out because people like Stalin, people like Hitler did believe in evolution, and they followed them to their logical conclusion, which is survival of the fittest. Anybody who's weak, we just get rid of. And I think morality would.
It's true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Morality would be the biggest element, I think. Because we believe there are certain things that are right and wrong. If you see an animal in the wild chasing down another animal to kill and eat it, we don't arrest those animals and put them in jail because that's part of the natural world. It's part of the tragic consequences of the world we live in. But when we see that happening with humans, we put them in jail. We arrest them. We prevent them from, carrying out that kind of action because we believe there's a set of moral boundaries that we all should obey in order to live in a civil society. And those boundaries start to break down because if you embrace the evolutionary idea, then there's no reason why I shouldn't take what I want and never mind the consequences for anyone else. Yeah. And I think that, we believe that love is important. Many of us would think about somebody in our life whom we've loved or who has loved us, whether that be a parent or a child or a sibling or a loved one. Love seems to be very important to us as human beings. And yet, in an evolutionary process where you're a bag of chemicals and I'm a bag of chemicals, love is nothing more than a chemical process. So love is of no more value than indigestion. It's just a physical process, whereas I think that we as humans understand that the emotions that we have, the feelings that we have, the people we care about are more than just a chemical reaction.
Wow, absolutely. It can lead to a very gloomy worldview, doesn't it?
I think so. And look, let's flip it on the other side, the optimistic view. If there is a God, what if there is a God who actually created the universe? What if there is a God who actually created beautiful things like the flowers, the animals, the plants that we see on planet Earth? What if there was a God who created beings in his own image and then expressed to them love and care in such a profound way that was greater than any other love would have experienced? That is, some people say, well, that story is too good to be true, and it sounds too good to be true, but it is true. And we want to explore all of those avenues in this series.
Absolutely. Peter, how can people know more? Is there a website? And can you tell us again, just one more time, location and time of your series? Because it looks like it's something really amazing.
Well, if people go to isgodforreal.com.au, that's isgodforreal.com.au. At the website there, they'll see the Key Law venue, and they'll be able to register if they want to, and they can come along and they'll find the details there. So isgodforreal.com.au, and we'll be meeting 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, St. Stephen Uniting Church, corner of Church and Flora Streets in Key Law, Victoria. If anybody's in the area or they know friends in the area, let them know. They can come along to Is God for Real and Does It Really Matter, Tuesday at 6:30.
Thank you so much, Peter. All the best. We cannot wait to hear about how that evangelistic series will go, that series of presentations. I think it's going to be great and start some great conversations with people that are seeking, that wanting to know more about the Bible, want to know more about God and the universe.